Hey, coming up on your favorite podcast, it's just me hanging out doing a little PGA Preview Pod, breaking down all things the TPC of Scottsdale Waste Management Phoenix Open. We'll also talk a little bit about what my friends at the No Laying Up guys say, call the Bonesaw Open down in Saudi Arabia. A little bit of a bad look for all these PGA guys to head over there for the big payoff, but hey, whatever. Can't judge it, I suppose. It's going to be a great field. Should probably be a great tournament. It usually is. And then we'll weigh into the controversy of Patrick Reed a little bit, figure out kind of where I stand on all of that stuff with Reed, and then get in a little bit to what the USGA and the RNA put out as far as equipment rollbacks and what maybe should be done about that. I have some opinions on that as well. All that, and probably not much more, to be perfectly honest with you. I'll give you my picks, and we'll go from there. It's the Golf Preview Pod, and it's next. By the way, it's sponsored by Ty Schrupp, but I'll talk about that in a minute, and it's on the pod. Hey, it's the Tim Anderson Podcast. I'm Tim Anderson in the basement here, just north of Minneapolis, hanging out this evening by myself once again. My buddy Ty, it's busy season for him. He'll be back in to join the pod here shortly, whether it's next week or the week after, but we'll get him back in. It's a very busy season for him, and if you want to be part of his busyness, you can continue to go take care of him. Hook him up, TyShrupp.com, State Farm Insurance Agent. Ty Schrupp serves all of northern Minnesota here, northern Minneapolis, I should say, northern Minneapolis, St. Paul area. He is really good, great guy. I've known him for a long time. About as honest as they come, family man, all about life insurance, car insurance, boat insurance, house insurance, that's whatever, pet insurance, anything you're looking for, he's got you covered. And he's a good dude. Like I said, you're tired of dealing with people on the phone all the time. I just dealt with this the other day. You're calling somebody, you got to sit on hold forever, you got to wait for some kind of automated system, you got to punch a bunch of buttons. You don't really have to mess with that with Ty. You can go online at TyShrupp.com, or you can give him a call. Number's right there on the website. Give him a buzz, and just let him know that you heard him on the podcast and you would like to take advantage of what he has to offer going forward. So thank you for that. All right, podcast time. Let's talk a little PGA Preview Pod. Last week, Torrey Pines. It was a controversial weekend, and that just sort of seems to be par for the course whenever Patrick Reed tees it up and he's in contention. The big embedded ball issue. We'll get to that in just a second. But first, Patrick Reed does win the tournament. Wins it pretty convincingly. Wins going away. Viktor Hovland fades at the end of that one. Not surprising. That seems to happen a little bit with Viktor just because his game's a little inconsistent, especially when it comes to around the greens. Again, not a great chipper of the ball, pretty average putter, but he's going to be around because he's an incredible ball striker. I fully expect to see him win again here. I know he's already won twice. I expect him to win one or two more times in the coming year or so. I think his game is that good. I think his game travels. I think he can play anywhere. And he will be a factor wherever he tees it up. So it should be a very interesting time to keep an eye on Hovland. But for Reed, listen, as a golfer, Reed is as good as it gets. He's one of the top 10 players in the world, really, when he's on. And, he has been on for a couple of years now. Post-Masters, he won at the Northern Trust a couple years ago. He won at the WGC in Mexico last year prior to the shutdown. When his game is rolling, he's very, very good. I mean, he's not the longest guy on tour, but he's long enough. He's a great iron player, and he's a really good putter, especially clutch. He's a good clutch putter, good clutch wedge player. It seems to feed off of pressure, where some of the other guys wilt. So as far as talent goes, there are not many more talented than Reed. And the haters are out on Reed, and look, obviously so. I don't feel bad for Patrick Reed. People are like, oh, poor Patrick, he really gets the short end of the stick. No. That guy does it to himself. He does it to himself. You got Kessler Corain, who's on Instagram, talking about how, hey, the haters drinking some big haterade here. You know what? Pound sand on that one, Kessler. You and your boss have done this to yourselves. You've been dicks on the golf course. You've broken the rules multiple times. This is not a first-time thing. This is a multiple-time occurrence, and the thing is, it feels like a shady deal. Regardless if he doesn't do anything wrong in the eyes of the PGA Tour, the guys on tour think he did something wrong. You heard Xander Schauffele's comments on Saturday and Sunday saying he thinks the tour protects Patrick Reed. You hear a lot of guys who are kind of under the surface, but behind the scenes, kind of texting out, tweeting out, like, yeah, this guy's kind of a, he breaks the rules all the time. Nobody likes him. This is something that is out there. And look, anybody who saw the replay, it's pretty safe to say that that ball was probably not embedded. And I just didn't like kind of how cavalier everything was about it. I'm not saying that I want to spend 10 minutes on rule stuff. I really don't, because that stuff gets really old really fast. It pisses me off when guys call for officials every 5 seconds, especially about stuff that we already know the rule on. If it crosses the lateral hazard, what the call is, where do you take your drop? I think everybody knows that. But yet, they still insist on calling rules officials over half the time. But this is one of those situations where it's like, if you think the ball is embedded and there's video evidence that suggests it probably wasn't embedded, I think that's worthy of a conversation without you picking the ball up and kind of, working the lie where it looks like he was. It just looks like he was working the lie down there. I'm not accusing him of doing that. I'm not saying that he did that. I'm just saying it looks a little suspicious, and I just don't like the cavalier nature of picking up the golf ball. I don't like it. I don't think it's the reason why he won the tournament or anything, or the reason why somebody else lost, but it is something that just seems to follow Reed wherever he goes, and it's just, I don't know what they're going to do about it. They probably can't do anything about it, but it's just something that's there, and it's going to come to a head at some point. I just feel like he's going to have a questionable rules call go against him in a round. A player is going to be the one that calls him on it. It might happen in a major. It might happen at Augusta. It might happen, in the U.S. Open. And who's going to be that guy that's going to look up Patrick Reed and say, yeah, dude, I think that's a pretty cavalier drop. Or I think that's a really, underhanded way of handling that rule. It's going to be great theater when it happens. But what's that going to look like for that tournament? Or if it's in a major, what does that do when fans are there? What's going to happen when we got 50, 60,000 people back on golf courses, which we might have in the summertime, late summer, in the fall? By the time we get to the Ryder Cup, if he's on that Ryder Cup team, there are going to be 100,000 people, 50, 60, 70,000 people at different places throughout the golf course. And everybody's going to be watching him. And I don't know what that reaction's going to be. I'm curious to see how it all plays out. But I don't think this is over. I think the way the tour guys were talking about this thing behind the scenes, what you heard from guys like Henrik Norlander who don't like him, guys like Harris English who don't like him, Xander Schauffele, he says they're good, but I don't think Xander's a big fan either. I think there's some stuff there. I think to be continued on this, because Reed's good enough to play on the Ryder Cup team, and he probably should be on the Ryder Cup team because he's a good putter, he's a clutch player, he's not afraid to play against Europe, and he seems to like playing in the Ryder Cup. But he's a hard guy to be a teammate with. And you just wonder how that is going to work, what that dynamic looks like. Who's going to want to be his partner? Because it's pretty clear that, Spieth ain't going to make the team. Not without a major surge, which, we can talk about him in a minute. But Spieth played well with him because I think they're both from Texas, kind of underdogs. They complemented each other well. But as soon as he had the opportunity to go play with JT, Spieth was out of there. Spieth wanted to go play with JT. Why? Because he likes playing with JT. They're friends. He wins with Patrick Reed, but that doesn't mean that he likes playing with Patrick Reed. So now that there is no Spieth, the option of Spieth is not there, and you got Tiger with back issues, he's probably not going to be a captain's pick. Tiger and Reed get along pretty well. Who's going to be that guy? Because I don't think it's... Webb Simpson got thrown to the wolves a little bit. Webb Simpson played lousy at the President's Cup after the whole beach issue, after the sand bunker issue before the President's Cup. So who's going to be the guy? who do you pair him with? Who's going to want to sit there and say, yeah, I want the circus. Give me Patrick Reed. There's a lot there. I'm curious to see where that plays out. So keep your eye on that story. I think there's something more there, and it's going to be interesting to watch as we go forward. All right. Next thing, I want to talk about this one because it just came out. The USGA and the RNA announced that they are looking at 3 rule changes and then 6 points of emphasis. Now, let's be clear. None of this is going to happen within the next 18 months to 2 years. So all these people who are freaking out going, oh man, I just bought a driver. You'll play your driver. You're going to get plenty of mileage out of your Maverick or out of your Sim 2 or whatever it is that you're going to get, because this is not going to take place for at least two golf seasons. I think you're going to get all of 2021, all of 2022. It might be a factor in 2023. And even then, there might be, everybody's talking about bifurcation and how bifurcation's a disaster. I think if you are an amateur Sunday player, I don't think it's going to affect you at all. Like, I really don't. I think they're going to say, here's what you're going to play in, and I think it'll be local rules, right? I think PGA events will say you got to use blades, you got to use club heads that are a little bit smaller. U.S. amateur, maybe not. Again, this goes all the way up through, if you watch baseball, they use aluminum bats all the way up through college. So most amateur settings play by one rule, professionals play by other rules. Now, that doesn't mean that within that they don't play wood bat tournaments, that they don't do wood bat training. They do, right? They certainly do. I mean, there are high school teams that go play in wood bat tournaments, and it's fun, and it's there, and it mixes it up. Do I think you can do the same thing with this? Yeah. And do I think it can be fun and interesting and successful? Yeah, I do. I do. This is no different than when the old guys up at St. Andrews offer you a chance to go play golf with Hickory golf clubs. It's okay to have 2 different sets of equipment for different people, and the rules be the exact same. It's fine. Understand that 95% of golfers cannot generate the club head speed to really take advantage of the spring effect that's in place on some of these drivers and to control the spin on some of these golf balls. You rarely see it. Rich Shields talked about this on his YouTube show. He tested out these new drivers, the Rad and the Sim 2 and all these other clubs. He compared them to the drivers of 4 and 5 years ago. It's 3-4 yards. 3-4 yards difference. And that's for an elite player. That's for a guy who has 100-mile-an-hour club head speed. But for the amateurs, it's not going to make that big of a difference. So I don't think this is going to hurt the amateurs at all. I really don't. It might add a little more spin to the golf ball because they might make the golf balls universal. They might roll some things back on the golf ball, and you're going to play a more spinnier ball at the lower levels too. Which, look, it is what it is. You figure it out. There's a lot of guys who tell you they would much rather play a ball that they can control a little more, that they can maybe work a little more. If you can play a little draw with it. I don't know. I'm okay with that if that's what we choose to do. I think it's important for the USGA to control this thing going forward. I know Rory McIlroy just came out with a little sanctimonious thing, and I'll talk about that too, but I'm interested first at what Webb Simpson says and Justin Thomas says. First of all, not a surprise that these 3 guys who are top 10 players in the world who are sponsored by major equipment companies come out and say, oh, I don't know if we need to do all this. Yeah, of course you don't. Titleist is giving you a lot of money. TaylorMade gives you a lot of money. Of course you don't want to see changes. Of course you don't. And Webb Simpson acting like, oh, these companies, they spent a lot of money in research and development, and they've spent a lot of money to put this together, blah, blah, blah. Why don't you just go put some more trees out there? Or just create more dog legs? Or just go out there and drop more bunkers out there? Yeah, guess what, genius? That also costs money. That also costs real estate. Now, who do I want to pay for it? The guy who's, got very slim margins at the golf course? Or the guy, or the multi-million-dollar company, corporation that's publicly shared? I'm not putting that on the owner of the local municipal. I'm not putting it on them. That shouldn't be their job. And I love how he says, you know what, at 13, if you just planted a tree there, okay, Webb, how about you pay for that? Because you can't just put a tree there, wave some magical fairy dust, and get a 30-foot high tree. You either have to have a grown tree already moved to that spot and planted, or you got to wait 30 years. Like, those are your choices. So if you're going to opt to move the tree, guess what? That costs. That is expensive. And if Augusta National says, hey, fine, we'll do that for you, Webb Simpson, the bill will be in your locker when you get here in April, then I got no problems with that. But if you're like, not me, I'm not paying for that, then shut up. Just shut up and deal with it. Those are the way the rules work. Their job is to preserve the game, not preserve your wallet. In fact, this should help you. You drive the ball 280. You're going to be obsolete in 5 years. Guys like Webb Simpson will not win on this tour in 5 years. Not without a major change. And this is a fact. Think about this. 5 years ago, Zach Johnson won the Open, Jordan Spieth won the Masters, and the U.S. Open. Two guys who drove at about 280, 290 won major championships. 6 years later, they can't get a sniff. Can't get a sniff in those events. They are grossly outmatched at places like Torrey Pines, at places like Riviera. They can't compete. This game will be dominated in 5 years, if it hasn't already, by guys who drive it 340, 350 off the tee. And if you can't drive it 350 off the tee, you have no chance on tour. The fact that Kevin Kisner stood up 3 weeks ago and said, yeah, listen, I can't win there, but they pay a lot of money for 20th place. Like, a player of Kevin Kisner's caliber, a top 30, top 40 player in the world, basically says, yep, there's about 8 courses I can go win on tour. That's not good. That's not good. Right? So, yes, you have to do something about this. And it shouldn't be incumbent on golf courses to just build 8,000-yard golf courses. Not sustainable. It's not sustainable. And I'm not a guy who's a long hitter. Yeah, I want to hit the ball further than 225, 230, 240. Yeah, I want to hit the ball further than that. Sure I do. But within reason. Within reason. I'm not looking for 330. I'd be thrilled at 250. We're not talking, yeah, I want distance because I'm nowhere near a tour average. I'm nowhere near it. So yes, I want distance. But at the same time, I don't know how much fun I'd have if I played a golf course that I was literally just driver wedge into every green. I don't know how much fun that is. It's certainly not fun for my opponent. And it's not entertaining to watch. I like watching shots. I love watching Zach Johnson play. Zach's a great wedge player, hits irons, hits hybrids. I like watching guys like Tommy Fleetwood who don't hit it a ton. I like watching those kinds of players. But those players are few and far between. And I love watching Jordan Spieth. But it pains me to watch Jordan Spieth trying to stretch 320 out of a driver and he can't control it. I'd much rather he go back to hitting at 285 and be that player. But he knows he can't be that player and win. It's a bad thing. So, look, I am for these changes. I think they need to happen. And if any of you hear all these PGA guys whining about it, just look at who's paying them. And that'll tell you why. They're whining because Titleist is going to have to go make more product. They're going to have to make a new driver. Sorry to hear that. They're going to have to wind back the Pro V1. It's going to cost them some money to do that. I understand that. I get that. But the golf, and look, they can keep making those Pro V1s for regulars. That's why I'm okay with bifurcation. I'm okay with it. But this idea that we got to hang on to these universal rules is silly. We have bifurcation at every level in every sport. In basketball, at the high school level, no shot clock. You go to college, shot clock. You go to high school, 5 fouls, you're out. You go to the NBA, you get 6. 17 fouls, you shoot free throws. In the NBA, it's like 5 1/4. The rules are different all the time. 10 seconds to get up the court in the NBA, 8 seconds in the NBA, 10 seconds in high school. Bifurcation. Aluminum bats for little leaguers, wood bats for big leaguers. That's bifurcation. Football. Oh my God, don't even get me started. The rules are vastly different. A high school football game and a college football game, I can't even begin to talk about the differences. So we have bifurcation. Already, it exists on all sports, and we've all accepted it. So it's okay for it to be in golf. It's okay. I support it. It doesn't mean people don't play basketball. Like, people still play basketball. People still play baseball. People still play football. And people will still play golf. It's just my thought. All right. Let's talk a little bit about this week on tour. This week they head over to the Waste Management Phoenix Open. And normally I'm a little lukewarm on this event because I can't handle some of the drunken nonsense. But this year, smaller crowd. They're allowing only 5,000 folks at the golf tournament, not the traditional 100 and some odd thousand that show up there daily. So could be more of a tame golf tournament. The golf course is still nice, right? I still like Scottsdale as a general rule. I think it's a fun course. I think the tournament is interesting. There's going to be some good names in the tournament, although not the same as there used to be because of what Saudi Arabia has done. The way they have lured guys over, like Phil Mickelson, like Kevin Na, and all these Paul Casey. These guys who used to play at Phoenix all the time are now going out and playing in Saudi Arabia, and the field is incredible at Saudi Arabia. It's incredible. It just feels a little dirty how we got there, but they're there, and they're going to be playing starting tomorrow. Let's just talk a little bit first about. I'll give you kind of the rundown of who's playing in each event, so that you have a chance to kind of get familiar. The Euro event right now features DJ, Bryson DeChambeau, Patrick Reed, Tyrrell Hatton, Victor Hovland, Paul Casey, Tony Finau, Tommy Fleetwood, Abraham Ancer, Serge. That's like your top 10 of the field. Bezaidnote, Matt Wallace, McIntyre, Jason Kokrak, which I don't know what the hell Jason Kokrak's doing there, Shane Lowry, Andy Sullivan, Lee Westwood, Kevin Na, Thomas Peters, Justin Rose. I mean, give me a break. A lot of guys taking the money from the Saudi prince. Just don't say anything wrong. Don't piss him off. Whatever you do. But the golf course looks beautiful. I'm not even going to say it doesn't. Beautiful view of the Red Sea. It is a stunning looking golf course. Just the politics and the optics of it don't look very good to me. But again, some people would say, well, this is why you're a slovenly liberal. This is why, it's like it's always about optics for you. Yeah, sometimes it is about optics. I agree. And maybe that's too much. I understand. I understand that. Maybe it's too much sometimes. Maybe I'm too focused on that stuff. I totally understand that. All right. Let's talk a little bit about then what that leaves us. It's still a pretty good field in Scottsdale. Still a good field. It's going to be interesting to watch. It does play to some guys' strengths. It really does. Like, there are some guys who I think are going to get well this week. And I'll go through my picks in just a moment. But just to run through some of the guys in the field for your own edification, if you're casting a lineup or if you're playing, let's just take a look at who is in the field this week. John Rahm, because he's an Arizona State guy. Xander Schauffele, Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy, Webb Simpson, Matsuyama, Daniel Berger, Sung Jae Im, Harris English, Ryan Palmer, Scotty Scheffler. Will Zalatoris, Brooks Koepka, Ricky Fowler, Bubba Watson, Horschel. It's a good field. Max Homa's in the field, Jason Day, Kuchar's in the field, Jordan Spieth is in the field this week. It's a good field. It really is in Phoenix, and I'm certainly interested in it. But it's a field that I think has been better in the past, so I'm a little surprised. Like, Phil not playing in this event's weird to me. I feel like Phil needs to be in this event. Taking the money in Saudi Arabia is a little is a little sketch. A little sketch to me. I don't know. So here's my lineup for this week. Again, this is on Daily Fantasy. You can go play it. You get your little cap. You got to make something happen within your little salary cap. Got to make it work. This week was a tough one for me. There's guys I like, guys I don't like, but here's what I'm going with. Starting first at the top, kind of my high money pick this week is Hideki Matsuyama. He's made 8 cuts out of 9. I think he'll make the cut no problem. He's contended to win at this event. Again, his putting, atrocious. We've talked about this many times. He's the worst putter on the PGA Tour. I'm scared to see if there are worse putters than him. But, great ball striker. I think he's going to find his way in the top 10 here somehow this week. I think there are some holes that he can take advantage of. I think he can. All the par 5s are in play for him to go for it in 2. Even if he 2-putts those, he's going to make a ton of birdies. I like Matsuyama this week. Iron Byron Sungjae Im. I'm going to take him again because Sungjae is the freaking man. And I absolutely love this guy. He's going to be great. So give me Sungjae Im. I think he's going to play really well this week. Ricky Fowler won this event a couple years ago. I think he likes it here. This is his kind of golf course. He plays well in these TPCs. So I think he's going to do okay here. I think Ricky Fowler gets back. He's starting to trend a little bit. He's starting to find a little flow. I think Ricky plays well. I'm going to ride the hot hand and stay with Max Homa. He's been in contention now the last couple of weeks. He's played well. He likes the West Coast. I'm going to ride the hot hand and say Max continues to play well. Michael Thompson, another guy who's playing really well. He did a nice job when he was at the American Express. He's made 7 of 8 cuts. He won last year at the 3M Open. He's an under the radar guy, and I like him to top 20 or something this week. I think he'll play well. And then another guy that I'm going to ride the hot hand with, Adam Long. He's made 8 of 9 cuts this year. He's got 2 top 10s, and he's a guy that's just always in the mix. So keep your eye on him. So Matsuyama, Im, Fowler, Homa, Michael Thompson, Adam Long. Who wins this golf tournament? Great question. Because some of these big hitters aren't on form. I think Rahm is playing well, but we still don't really know if he's ready to win yet. I don't know. McIlroy, I got to see it. I got to see it on Sunday before I'm ready to buy Rory McIlroy stock right now. I'm holding with the stock I got, but I'm certainly not buying any more. Justin Thomas, I'm not sure Justin's ready to bounce back yet after all this stuff. I think he has not been used to guys giving him a hard time and losing sponsorships and stuff like that. Negative press in Justin Thomas has not happened. So I don't know how he responds here. I got to see it. He's another guy that's just like, you know what, you got to show me something first before I buy into all of that. So I'm out on guys like him, and I'm out on Spieth right now. I mean, I'm never out on Spieth. Let's be clear. I love Jordan, and I want him to win. But I got to see something. I got to see 4 rounds. I got to see 4 consistent rounds before I'm in. Again, he got it to 4 under par last week. He was in the mix, and then all of a sudden, here's double bogeys. Here's bogeys. I'm driving it into the deep rough, and it's too many foul balls. Way too many foul balls. So I'm going to ride Sungjae Im. I think Im wins this week. It's a good tournament for him. It's a good golf course for him. The fact that the crowd's not bananas, I think, plays into his hands. Would not be surprised if he is somebody who is holding the trophy at the end of the week. And as for the Saudi Open, I think that is a wide open competition. I think DeChambeau could be a factor there. He looks like he's ready to go. We haven't seen him in a while, so let's see what he can do. I'm fascinated there. DJ, I think DJ's ready. He's going to play half decent, I think. I think he'll be in the mix. But I think this is going to be a Euro. Somebody on the Euro Tour is going to win this event. Hatton's the hottest player in the world right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he's there at the end. I think Tommy Fleetwood's ready to get right. I don't know. Tommy Fleetwood might be somebody to watch this week on the Euro Tour. We'll keep an eye on all of that, and we'll get you updated on all those results when we get back in here next week. So enjoy the golf. I know the Super Bowl's on this weekend, but do make time for the golf. Next week, I know that we'll be back. The guys are going to come back in here. We're going to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl, break down all the football stuff. Lauren and I are going to be whipping up the Raising Arizona Peak Cinema Pod real soon. We got some stuff going on here at the podcast. I know it's been a little bit of a slow week trying to just get our bearings after a crazy stretch where we were just doing pod after pod. So now we're chilling out a little bit, which is good. I want to continue to thank you for your listenership. I want to thank you for listening, downloading, sharing it out to a friend. I really do appreciate that. You can find us again on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean. Drop me an email anytime, timpodcast1@yahoo.com, or you can tweet at me at Mr. Tim Anderson. You can find me there. Be happy to get into it with you on a mature level, I'm sure. So there we go. That's the pod this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Enjoy the golf, everybody. We'll chat with you next week. Until then, keep your head up, and we'll see you next time.